你好大的胆子！杀我，我天圣脚必反。
这人抓不得！
不好了！皇帝也在圣教暗查的眼线。
将那狐狸和狮子拿下，带回大理寺。
按律，满门抄斩。
The fox girl was unconscious, her body badly wounded. Without hesitation, Qin Mu poured dragon saliva into her mouth. A moment later, Hu Linger slowly regained consciousness. Her eyes were unfocused at first, then suddenly filled with tears. "I lost the big dragon," she cried. The Qilin dragon had been carried away earlier by the tornado, but the recent shock waves had shattered the spell and sent the massive beast flying off to who knew where. Qin Mu forced a weak smile and tried to comfort her. "It's fine. The big dragon only injured its backside. It'll recover, even if it can't lick its wounds properly for a while." Hu Linger was still sobbing. "But he's very precious," she said through tears. Then, with lingering bitterness, she added softly, "Chen Wanyun and the others were completely useless." And in the distance, the destruction of Heavenly Wave City continued without mercy. Qin Mu struggled back to his feet and spat a mouthful of blood from his chest. Cradling Hu Linger in his arms, he said weakly, "Let's go find the others." Suddenly, his entire body stiffened. From deep within the forest came the crashing sound of falling trees. A massive serpent slowly pushed its way through the woods, its enormous body forcing the trees aside like twigs. Qin Mu recognized it at once. It was the giant snake that belonged to Long Jianan, the very creature that had once destroyed his ship during the journey to the capital. From atop the serpent's head came the sound of coughing, followed by bitter laughter. A handsome man, now in a miserable state with smeared powder on his face and torn ceremonial robes, sat there unsteadily. With a voice trembling between rage and grief, Long Jianan shouted, "You destroyed my city! You destroyed my Dragon Rider sect!" Qin Mu's eyes widened in shock. Long Jianan was terrifyingly powerful, strong enough to have once broken through the capital's defenses without suffering a single wound. Qin Mu began stepping back slowly. "Who exactly are you?" Long Jianan demanded coldly. The massive flower-crowned serpent fixed its sharp gaze on Qin Mu, filled with suspicion. Long Jianan added darkly, "The Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor sent you here, didn't he?" Qin Mu did not answer. Instead, he slipped behind a tree and vanished in an instant. He teleported away using divine arts. With a furious roar, Long Jianan smashed the tree apart with a single strike, but Qin Mu was already gone. Panic flickered across Long Jianan's face. He activated earth-based techniques, causing countless stone spikes to erupt from the ground, turning the forest into a deadly maze of traps. The giant serpent continued to slither forward, crushing every stone formation in its path. At the same time, Long Jianan's body began to twist and convulse like a serpent shedding its skin. The old outer shell split apart. A completely new body emerged, smooth, flawless, and uninjured. Long Jianan calmly put on fresh clothes, laughing softly as he did so. "You're still here," he said with confidence. "I can feel your gaze. You must be admiring my body right now, aren't you?" Hidden behind the trees, Qin Mu watched in silent shock. The figure before him now possessed a curvaceous feminine form, utterly different from the male image Long Jianan had always shown. Qin Mu's mind raced with confusion. Is Long Jionan truly female? Or did the Dragon King desire a son and raise him as a man? He dared not blink. He knew that even the slightest shift in his gaze could expose his position to Long Jionan's terrifying instincts. Teleportation could only be used a few more times before his energy would be completely exhausted. A direct confrontation was not an option. As Long Jionan slowly finished dressing, he suddenly grinned. "You're staring at my neck, aren't you?" Qin Mu's heart nearly stopped. Long Jionan had pinpointed his exact location solely from the direction of his gaze. Without hesitation, Qin Mu yanked open his teleportation cloak and vanished in a burst of divine light. A violent explosion echoed behind him as he escaped. The giant serpent surged forward, carrying Long Jionan in hot pursuit, but Qin Mu was already far away. Long Jionan lifted his head and saw Qin Mu running through the air itself. "You won't escape," he growled. Demonic gas blasted from the serpent's mouth, shooting straight into the sky in pursuit. Then, as they looked forward, the sight before them made even Long Jionan freeze. Heavenly Wave City was gone. In its place stood only ruins and a colossal sacrificial altar built from blood and bones. And beneath the shadow of that altar, the Demon King's presence still lingered like an unextinguished nightmare. Above the towering altar, Demon King Dutian was locked in battle against two supreme sect masters. One of them was the Dragon King of the Dragon Rider sect, fighting side by side with his mighty flood dragon. The other was an expert who had reached the Divine Bridge realm. Even with their combined strength, both masters stood at the edge of death at every moment. The demon language spoken by Dutian echoed across the battlefield, far older, deeper, and more terrifying than anything Qin Mu had ever used. Then, the sky above Heavenly Wave City began to crack apart. Thunder exploded across the heavens. From a widening rift of darkness, a two-headed ghostly creature howled as it forced its way into the world. From that vortex, thousands of black figures burst forth, flooding the sky. They were the Heavenly Demon Legion of Dutian. Some of the demons even slaughtered one another in mid-air, their corpses raining down like a storm, adding layer after layer to the massive blood altar below. Soon, a red rain began to fall from the sky. High-ranking demons descended, carrying royal staffs, chanting ancient demonic spells. Vast, archaic runes ignited across the heavens, forming a colossal formation above the altar. Heavenly Wave City had become a living, sacrificial ritual. Watching all of this, Qin Mu felt a deep chill pierce his soul. In his heart, he murmured, "Perhaps I have created a disaster far greater than the destruction of the entire Imperial Academy." Long Jionan stared in silence at the massive vortex in the sky, now fully transformed into a gateway to another world. From within it, more and more heavenly demons poured out. Their power surged, blackening the sky like a storm of endless darkness. From atop the altar, Demon King Dutian roared with blazing excitement, commanding his people to abandon their ruined world and embrace this new realm. He described this world as one filled with beautiful women, endless food, and fragile humans who could be crushed at will beneath their feet. Long Jionan stood frozen. At the foot of the altar, his father had already fallen. Even the flood dragon that once guarded him lay motionless. One of the sect master level experts had been beheaded, his head lifted high by the Demon King himself. Long Jionan's heart trembled. Is this the end of the Dragon Rider sect? Grief stabbed deep into his soul. At the same time, the heavenly demons began to descend like rain, massacring the scattered soldiers who were fleeing in panic. Qin Mu was also forced to the ground, surrounded by 6 or 7 heavenly demons as they slowly rose to their feet. These creatures were not unfamiliar to him. He had fought them before in the great ruins alongside the village chief. Their bodies were grotesque and irregular, brimming with raw strength. They were both skilled fighters and capable of using simple but deadly demonic magic. The instant they landed, Qin Mu attacked. He severed one demon's head, twisted past a scorpion-like venomous tail, and drove his blade straight through its core. With a freedom mudra, he tore its demonic soul free and shattered it in midair. Suddenly, a bull-headed demon stepped forward, shouting a challenge in broken demonic speech. Qin Mu answered with full resolve, activating the 3-elixir body of the sovereign technique. The bull-headed demon roared and dragged its massive greatsword across the ground, sparks bursting as it swung down with overwhelming power. But before the strike could land, a giant serpent crashed down from the sky and obliterated the demon in a single impact. Long Jionan had arrived. The massive serpent whipped its tail through the battlefield, crushing dozens of heavenly demons in one sweeping strike. Qin Mu immediately retreated as the battle escalated into total chaos. Although Long Jionan's cultivation far surpassed his own, even he struggled under the endless assaults of heavenly demons pouring down from the sky. He Lingers summoned roaring tornadoes to protect them, but even so, several demons managed to break through the wind barriers and leap toward them. The enemy numbers were limitless. Darkness swallowed the sky like a swarm of gigantic living locusts. And the true war for this world had only just begun. For the first time since everything began, Qin Mu felt true despair. He remembered the patriarch's warning that one must bear the consequences of the disaster they create with their own hands. But this catastrophe? It was far beyond what he could possibly bear. Then, a blinding light burst forth from the southern sky. It swept across the heavens like a cleansing tide, instantly annihilating every heavenly demon caught within its path. Qin Mu trembled as he looked up. What descended was not divine radiance. It was a storm of swords. Countless blades filled the sky like a hurricane of light. At the very center, a massive rotating sword core shimmered like a second moon. Each individual sword burned with dazzling brilliance, millions of them, tearing apart the darkened heavens and erasing the demon army in an instant. The sky, once choked with demons, was brilliant again. Only demon corpses remained, raining down from above. In Heavenly Wave City, Demon King Dutian panicked. He forcefully accelerated the summoning of his true body through the blood altar, amplifying the chants of the accompanying demons. The sky trembled violently. From the vortex above, a gigantic demonic foot began to descend, wreathed in hellfire that scorched the air itself. But the sword storm had already shifted direction. It rotated in unison and surged straight toward Heavenly Wave City, its scale rivaling the size of the city itself. Demon King Dutian lifted all 8 of his arms at once, summoning a vast black barrier that sealed the entire city beneath it. A moment later, boom! The sound of thousands upon thousands of swords crashing into the barrier exploded outward. The noise was so deafening that countless people instantly bled from their ears. Qin Mu, along with the heavenly demons around him, clutched their ears in agony as instant deafness struck. Across the river, the martial order's army was also shaken violently. Though the impact was weaker there, the pain still tore through their bodies. One by one, the bodies of shattered heavenly demons fell into the river, splashing endlessly across the water's surface. From within a city tower, an old general realized at once. A peerless expert had arrived on the opposite shore. The Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor quietly nodded. That man is even stronger than the 3 ancient monsters who once ambushed me. Duke Wei, shaken, muttered in disbelief. Who would go so far as to summon a demon king? Isn't this too extreme just for victory? The Imperial Preceptor replied calmly. The summoner did not doom us. He destroyed the city. And in doing so, saved tens of thousands of soldiers. Duke Wei could only sigh. That is precisely why people accuse you of walking the path of demons. The Imperial Preceptor merely smiled faintly. History will judge me, not those of this age. All my opponents are already dead. Meanwhile, Demon King Dutian was being overwhelmed. The body he had forged from wood and flesh could no longer withstand the endless sword bombardment. The power supplied by Qin Mu was far too small to sustain his full descent. Then, a middle-aged man stepped forth from across the river. The moment the Demon King tried to react, a single sword light flashed. It was a strike so breathtakingly perfect that it seemed like a masterpiece drawn across the sky itself. In that moment, the Demon King felt no regret. His head separated cleanly from his body and fell. The man who delivered that strike was the Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor. As the Demon King's massive body collapsed, the black barrier shattered. The bloody altar crumbled into emptiness. The heavenly demons attempted to charge forward, but the battlefield had already turned. The countless swords reassembled in midair, forming once more into a rotating sword core. From the distant sky, a simple wooden chest drifted forward. Its lid opened gently, and the sword core broke apart into countless streams of light, returning to the chest one blade at a time. The Imperial Preceptor silently watched the process. Without the altar, the summoning vortex lost its anchor. The rift in the sky shrank rapidly, forcing the true body of Demon King Dutian to retreat back into the unknown void. Qin Mu stared at that wooden chest and felt a sudden, powerful sense of familiarity. He remembered a similar chest he had often seen in the village workshop. Everyone said it only contained ordinary silver pellets. He chased after the retreating chest into the forest. There, he found an old man dressed in coarse cotton robes, a furnace strapped to his back, and the wooden chest held in his hands. His face was carved with countless wrinkles and unbearable hardship. When the old man saw Qin Mu, he smiled. A smile without a tongue. And in that silent smile, Qin Mu felt his entire fate begin to shift.